Hi, my name is Mauricio Martinez. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. EA or CPA? Enrolled agent or certified public accountant? Which one's the better tax preparer? Or are they the same? Well, they're definitely not the same. But which one you should choose really depends on your needs. So let's go ahead and compare them. First of all, they both have the exact same rights and privileges to represent you before the IRS. And they're both also highly regulated by the IRS to make sure they do their job well for you. Now that's where the similarities end. So let's take them one by one. First, let's look at the CPA, the Certified Public Accountant. In order to become a CPA, they take an exam. It's 16 hours long, divided into 4 parts: auditing and attestation, financial accounting and reporting, regulation, and inside regulation, most of that is on taxation. And then business environment and concepts. So 20% of the total exam is on taxation. They also have a work experience requirement before they actually get their final license. Now, they're also required to have every year what we call CPE, or continuing professional education. Now, since this is a state license, it does differ state by state what the requirements are. Now, for example, let's take Colorado. They have 23 different subjects of which they can take in order to actually fulfill the CPE requirements. One of those happens to be in taxation. So you'll typically see a CPA firm has teams that they work in. In other words, they have an audit department and a tax department. And that's really important, and I'll explain why in just a little bit. But let's take a look now at the EA, the enrolled agent. Now, the enrolled agent is actually a federal license that's granted by the Treasury Department, or the people we know as the IRS. And you can become an EA by an examination or by experience working for the IRS. So let's start with the exam. The exam is 10 hours long. It's divided into 3 parts: individual taxation, business taxation, and client representation on taxation matters. So 100% of that exam is actually on taxation. Now, for the EA who wants to become an EA through experience, they have to work for 5 years within the IRS in very specific areas. They're also required, both whether it's by exam or by experience, they're also required, like the CPA, to have CPE, or continuing professional education. The difference is that 100% of that CPE has to be on taxation. So which one do you need? A CPA or an EA? Well, let me give you some examples. Let's say that you have a problem with audit resolution. In other words, you're getting audited by the IRS and you're trying to get that resolved. Well, my recommendation is find an EA that became an EA through his IRS or her IRS experience. Why? Well, they worked for the IRS. They know the ins and outs of the IRS. So they can probably help you the most when it comes to audit resolution. Now, how about if you have a tax return, but you also have to have certified financial statements? In other words, you have to have audited, compiled, or reviewed financial statements. Well, there's only one group of people that can help you there, and that's the CPA. How about your individual tax return? Who can help you do that? Or who's the best one for that? Well, quite honestly, an experienced EA or CPA can actually take care of you there. The only difference really has to be with complexity. In other words, if you have a really complex return, then find somebody who actually deals with that level of complexity, regardless of whether it's an EA or a CPA. How about small business returns? Again, EA or CPA can do the same kind of job. Their difference has to do, or the difference, what you should be looking for is, does that CPA or EA work within your industry and the level of complexity of your return? Now, there's the final ingredient in actually finding the right EA or CPA, and that has to do with trust. And quite honestly, the only thing you can do there is try to find somebody who's worked with that CPA or that EA, so that you can actually find out how it is to work with them and what quality of work do they do, and do they fit your level and your style of working. Now, if you'd like to know more about what we can do here for you at Hawkins & Martinez, you can click on the button that says Book Now. It'll give you immediate access to my calendar. And there you can choose a date and time that's most convenient for you. We can talk for about 15 to 45 minutes, whether in person, on the phone, or online. We'll discuss your needs, and then I can show you how we can help you. And I'll be more than happy to give you a quote. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. My name is Mauricio Martinez.